Welcome to the basement. Guess what? It's Wes Moore Assessment Instruction Day. Let's take a look at the agenda. So, at the end of class today, it is important to know that the next reading assignment for the Other Wes Moore, due on Friday, will be assigned. It's another double assignment, so you will be reading both a section on Author Wes Moore and Incarcerated Wes Moore. If you get confused, remember that the reading calendar that's been posted on every reading assignment will remind you which Wes goes first in each chapter. So today, we're going to understand the purpose and procedure of the unit assessment. As I mentioned in yesterday's Google Meet, it is an assessment that you will be doing step by step alongside each new reading assignment from here on out, and then we will turn in a final product of what you'll be starting today. So it's not like a paper where you're going to brainstorm something and then have to draft something and then have to final draft something. What I show you today is what you will be turning in at the end of the unit to show me that you read the text, but then also that you're going to examine this idea of choices of an individual and do some theorizing on the societal and personal factors that play into those decisions. All right? Those are not necessarily big words, but a pretty complex sentence. So what I am talking about is what I referred to at the end of the Charm City documentary viewing, the idea of fate, choice, and luck. Now, fate, when we talk about fate, this is going to be the confusing one because we think of fate as in you're fated to do something, so almost like a prophecy, but that's not what I'm talking about here strictly. Fate here is more the situation that these Wes Moores have been born into, or the situations that they found themselves in. Is that what played into their ability to make a choice for their life? Whether positive or negative, we're not going to make those judgments, but rather the path that they ended up on that led one to be an author and one to eventually be in prison. Choice is personal choice. So there is a degree of our makeup, the person that we are, the ability that we have to make decisions when presented with options. We do have personal responsibility, and personal responsibility is a very American ideal. And we do believe that Americans should be trusted to make the right choice for themselves and their families. And we don't always do that. We make mistakes. Some of us make really bad mistakes. But then we get into some tough questions. If someone becomes addicted, is that person making bad choices, or does that have more to do with the situation that they're in? This is the discussion that you'll be having with yourself while you complete the assessment. Finally, there's that last one of luck, which sometimes the decision is taken out of our hands by just crazy luck. We're not talking Wes Moore here, but if a tree fell on your house, that wasn't necessarily because of where you decided to have your house. That wasn't because of a choice that you made. That's just a tree falling down. That's bad luck. Careful though, because of course, if you built your house too close to trees, or if you had an opportunity to take down a tree that was going to fall down and you didn't, well, does that change it? Is that luck anymore? Could you have avoided that? I'm only mentioning trees because last summer I took out all the trees in my backyard for just this sort of reason. All right, let's take a look at the actual assessment instructions. It's going to be under 5.27, the Other Wes Moore, and working on this document today will be your classwork for the day. After you watch this video and attempt to understand what the assessment instructions are, we will have an opportunity to ask some clarifying questions, and then we're going to get started on our first piece. Assessment has 3 pieces attached to it. This document is a familiarly formatted one because it is in the format of our assessments. So typically in class I read this to you on the projector, so I am going to do that here. Follow along. By now, we should have a solid understanding of the setting in which the two Wes Moores are asked to navigate. Each chapter of the text represents a moment in the life of these men where they were faced with a scenario and then responded to it. In this assessment, you will show that you have a good understanding of the situation these individuals found themselves placed and the cards they played to navigate their way through it. This is probably a good opportunity for me to jump in here and say what you're going to be making is Wes Moore, the card game. It's going to have 8 different game boards, and on each of those game boards, 2 different cards. It's not a playable game. It's a template in order for you to organize your analysis, just like if you had to do a formal paper. But instead of a formal paper, it's going to be something, hopefully, a little bit more interesting visually. So your task is to create a very simple card game with 8 boards showing your knowledge of the reading and the cards that each Wes Moore might play on the board. By doing so, you will demonstrate your knowledge and understanding of a nonfiction text. You will analyze how fate, personal choice, and luck influence an individual's life. You will pay attention to detail and maintain high standards in creating a published written project. The parameters here is 8 completed templates, one of which you are going to do today, for each chapter of the Other Wes Moore. On each template, you will generate the following 3 ideas. Setting description using text evidence, identify nonfiction information that establishes the scenario Wes Moore faces. Then an Author Wes Moore card, using text evidence, identify if the Wes Moore who grows up to be an author used fate, choice, or luck to navigate the chapter. Incarcerated Wes Moore, using text evidence, identify if the Wes Moore who grows up to be incarcerated used fate, choice, or luck to navigate the chapter. What I need you to understand is that those instructions right there should be the instructions that you end up following if you fill out the template that I have made for you. And there will be a tour of the template as well. It's important that you read that, but know that the template will re-explain those ideas for you. Writing requirements, not a paper, but we still expect capital letters and punctuation. Proper sentence construction where sentences are present. Won't always happen in a card game where you'll have full sentences, but if we do have a sentence, they should look like them. And then text evidence should have in-text parenthetical citations. Here is our process. Participate in unit activities in preparation. That's reading the text, watching Charm City. Review a model of what a completed board and cards would look like. We're headed there next. Start by finding nonfiction facts and information for each chapter. That's our stopping point. So this is something you've already done. We've had a couple days where I challenged you to find a nonfiction fact. And the examples that I remember are finding when a particular mayor served the city of Baltimore. But I think much more meaningful for this assessment is when you found information like a 70% dropout rate for black males in the city of Baltimore. That becomes a situation that our Wes Moores had to navigate. What was the card that they played when faced with that? Which Wes Moore was able to stay in school or were able to go to a different school? Which Wes Moore ultimately sees dropping out as possibly a more lucrative means gets you some money, opportunity than staying to get the degree. Okay, so that nonfiction fact of a dropout rate created an opportunity for the two Wes Moores to have to make a choice, play a card. Let's take a look at what that looks like on the template. This is what the template looks like. You don't do anything on this. This is just a cover sheet. This is the slide that you will be doing 8 times, one for each chapter in the Other Wes Moore. The title of the slide will be the name of the chapter. So if you're working on the slide for marking territory, you would write marking territory. The chapter that was due today was Lost. So today I want everyone to work on their Lost slide. This allows us to jump right into the assessment, but it also should be doable because that was the reading that was due today. Here's where you place your nonfiction details. My example in the other class was 70% dropout rate, maybe the mayor. You'll have to go find the facts that author Wes Moore presents to us that describe the situation that both Wes Moores face. On the left, we have author Wes's card. On the right, we have incarcerated Wes's card. Give it a creative name, and then this is where you decide, was the choice one of fate, as in the situation made Wes make the choice, which means that he had a personal choice in the matter, or luck, which means he had no choice at all, it just sometimes is silly luck. Text evidence, and then an explanation of the work that you showed above. All right. I went faster there because I don't expect you to be able to follow that as well as you could follow a model. And so instead of Wes Moore, make sure I set this back up before I leave. Okay. Instead of Wes Moore, I made one for Holden Caulfield because we sort of saw 2 Holden Caulfields this year. We saw a Holden Caulfield in Slight Rebellion off Madison, and we saw Holden Caulfield in Chapter 17 of The Catcher in the Rye. So the name of the chapter, I came up with one called Holden and Sally on a Date. I have 2 nonfiction details from the chapter with citations. I'm not going to read these. Just know that because Salinger's work is fiction, not nonfiction, those aren't facts about Holden Caulfield. Rather, they are some nonfiction facts about Salinger's work that I went and found on the internet and put in there to show you what it would look like. But in this case, that's not relevant to our project. What I really wanted to show you is the cards. So over here in Slight Rebellion, I called the card a Royal Pain. And over here in The Catcher in the Rye, I called the card Wish I Didn't. One card I decided was a choice type card, as in I think that the Holden Caulfield here made his decision with a personal choice. And this card I chose Fate, which means I think Holden Caulfield had less choice over his choice, but was rather influenced by his situation, his being. I looked very specifically at the end of the date. In the original Slight Rebellion short story, he says, "You give me a royal pain," he announced quite dispassionately. And in the novel, we see he responds to, you give me a royal pain. Boy, did she hit the ceiling when I said that. I know I should not have said that, and I probably wouldn't have ordinarily, but she was depressing the hell out of me. So I focused on that I have more knowledge about this Holden. My explanation for this being choice is that when the date ends between Sally and Holden, we have no insight into how tortured he is, and so we can just look at him and say, that guy is a jerk. He made that choice to say mean things to his girlfriend. But over here in the novel, it's in first person, so we get insight into how depressed he is. He's making these poor choices, but they come from a place of desperation. He really wants Sally to understand and connect with him, but he can't make it happen and lashes out. Her anger with him only depresses him more. So here I can see that he's yelling at Sally, but that's because she won't see how hurt he is when he talks about that good old trip up to Vermont. And she's not listening to him. She's not seeing how much in trouble he is. So he lashes out. That distances them. And so he's even more hurt because, of course, there's no way he's going to be connected with Sally after you call her a pain in the butt. Okay? So, today, you're doing one of these. For the reading that was due today, what is the setting of that chapter? What is the setting of Lost? Find 2 nonfiction facts. That's going to be okay if everybody shares that information, because there may only be a couple nonfiction facts in a chapter. What will be individual is you're going to decide the cards played, the decisions the 2 Wes's made to navigate through that topic. Okay? Every chapter of Wes Moore has had a topic, whether it be poverty or the presence of addiction, whether it be family in the very first chapter, and father figures, mother figures, and siblings. Every chapter has a situation that has been presented. You're going to show me that you have an analysis for why one Wes's situation leads to him becoming an author, and the other Wes's situation leads to him eventually going to jail. Okay? It's a assessment, so we take it one slide at a time. You're not expected to have all 8 slides today. In fact, you're not expected to have your 1 slide ready for tomorrow. I pushed the due date for the first ever slide to Thursday, so you have 2 days to try to have 1 slide down. On Thursday, we'll take a look at what you have, and we'll see if you're on the right track or not, and adjust. All right? Let's get to work.